Hey guys, what's up? It's your friend Keith, and I'm here live again in the control room at the one and only Essex Recording Studios, the world famous Essex Recording Studios, just outside London in Southend-on-Sea, England, baby. And I've got two really cool 1970s Japanese Les Pauls. Yes, these were built in the famous Fujigen factory. Um, Thousands and thousands and thousands of people all around the world play these guitars in the 70s and the 80s and to current day. They were a less expensive alternative to the American Gibson brand. And for people that wanted an iconic shape and style, but didn't want to bust open the piggy bank, well, they went to Japan. And interestingly, at that time in the 70s, you're only talking about 30 years after World War II, there were still very much negative connotations with goods made in Japan. But here we are, all these years later, nearly 50 years later, and Japan's the third largest economy in the world, and they're world renowned for the quality of their guitars built in this very same factory. So now what's happening is people are going back and saying, wait a second, we love Fujigen guitars. We love Japanese guitars. They've been making them all along. And they're going back to look at these vintage models, and we're seeing the market start to rise on them. Especially because, yes, just like back then, these were a cost-saving alternative. Look at the prices of a new Gibson or a vintage Gibson today, and you'll have to take out another mortgage for your home in order to buy one. They're extremely expensive. So these are starting to soar in popularity, and every little one is different. It has different cosmetic aesthetics to it, and we're just going to show you some of the features that are commonly found. All right, so the first one I'm going to talk about is the Avon, which historically, I guess we would associate with the cosmetics company. It's also here in the UK, Stratford-upon-Avon is the home of Shakespeare, so it's actually a region here in England. This particular line of guitars, Avon, was the Les Paul imports for Rose Morris, and then you can see Japan there. Now, Rose Morris was a UK musical instrument shop. So essentially, they wanted to have their own line of instruments to compete with the more expensive Gibsons, and they commissioned Fujigen to make this Avon brand for themselves. So these have English heritage behind the name and the design. And you can see we've got binding around the neck and body and headstock, as you would find on a Les Paul Custom. You've got rounded edge block inlays that progressively get smaller and smaller. And you've got the same kind of layout that you'd find on a Les Paul with your three-way toggle switch there, your dual pickups, bridge, stop, tailpiece, and then your 70s witches hats right there for your volume and tone. Now you can see what's interesting is in these Japanese models, you can see on both of them, back in the day, they had the Gibson style bridge. They didn't have what you see typically on Asian Les Pauls today, which has the screw for the adjustment on the bridge. These had like the ABR style from Gibson. That's pretty cool, because today you can spot a fake straight away, or an import straight away, the Gibsons, because they don't have this style bridge. They all have this style screw thing going on there. It's just kind of interesting. Now these are both bolt-ons. If we flip this one around, it's this one's a little bit lighter, I think, than the Saxon that we'll show you here in a second. But you'll notice too, the stop tailpiece is, if you look at this design, those are both the same design. They're just in gold. And if you look at the saddles almost look like they're plastic. Yeah, I think they're some sort of plastic, and that's the same on both of them. All right, so on the back here, you can see this is it says model 34, serial number 0676. And if we look on the back of this one, I believe there's no sticker. Same rounded neck plate. Made in Japan's in a different stamp. These were probably made in different years. I think this one's an earlier model, if I'm not mistaken. They were guessing that this is around 76 because the serial number ends in that. Regardless, that's about correct for the era. So you've got these Japanese style tuners, and if you look at any Japanese made guitars, even Fenders today, they're Japanese ones, throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, they have this style shape. So that's something very common that you see, is smooth chrome, kind of rounded. This is a very, very common, typical shape of Japanese tuners from this era. Now you've got Axe Music in Colchester, Essex. I used to live next to Colchester. Colchester is the oldest city in the United Kingdom. It was founded by the Romans, and yeah, it still has the old Roman wall all around it and the ruins from the Temple of Boudica. Pretty cool. So even back in the 70s here, yes, it is a bolt-on, but you can see they haven't cheaped out. Like in the construction, your back covers are all nice and recessed and flush with the body, so you didn't just slap it on. What can I say? I think this cover is just a hair smaller than what it would be on a Gibson, but same kind of shape. And yeah, it's just a 70s Les Paul copy. I like that it has the open book headstock shape. I'm not a huge fan of the Epiphone headstock shape. I think it's a real shame that they alter it. But you know, so it's cool to get something that looks proper. And you do have the double bound body front and back as you would get on a Les Paul Custom. Alright guys, that is the Avon. Now let's talk about the Saxon. I think the Avon's really cool with the logo. It's got this metal logo with two little, looks like it's been kind of stamped in there. So it's got a very quality logo. This Saxon logo is quite funky. You've got like your little Viking helmet up here. And then it's got this really tiny kind of Les Paul custom style diamond that's been shrunk way, way, way down. I don't know why. I think it leaves a lot of real estate here that's empty. It would have been cool to make that bigger. But that's how they did it. On this one, you've also got like more correct block inlays for Les Paul Custom. These, I don't know what the material is, but it's some sort of reflective material. Nice rosewood fretboard. And again, you've got your dual pickups, your volumes, your tones, your little witches hats with the thumb bleeders, as they call them there. And this one, the pick guard's been removed. You still have it on this. Gold hardware, so this would be like a Black Beauty copy versus the nickel or chrome hardware options there. And on the back, again, like we were talking about, these tuners are all, this shape is very, very typical and common for Japanese-made guitars. I don't see a serial number. It might have been on a sticker that went here, because we saw that there was a sticker on that one, made in Japan. And you've got some buckle rash. It looks like some people had some fun with this one. And then you have the larger back plate. So you can see small back plate, big back plate. There you go. These look about the same. And it looks like you've got I don't know if that's been relocated now. So, guitar strap peg there. And on this one in the normal spot up there. Interesting. I don't know if Rose Morris Music would have like spec'd any of that out, or if it's just like, hey guys, go make a Les Paul, and then wherever you put the strap pegs, you know, whatever size you choose for the covers that day, that's what it is. I'm not really sure how those conversations went back in the day, nearly 50 years ago. But yeah, cool. Two cool vintage 70s Japanese Les Pauls. And whether you want to go and chuck in your favorite pickups, whether you could throw some Gibson humbuckers in there, some bare knuckles. I've seen some people say they've used. They're well made for what they are. You can absolutely take them on the road, play with them. Like you don't have to worry about tuning stability or warpage on the necks if they've been stored properly. Like they are well made guitars for their price point, and absolutely usable and playable here today in nearly 2022. Yeah. And I think it's kind of cool to have something that stands out that doesn't, someone sees a design and like, oh, the guy's got a Les Paul, and then they see this on the headstock, and you could throw your own sticker on there or whatever, your own design on there if you want. And they're like, man, what is that thing? There's a lot of famous players who played iconic designs that people think were like, oh, like Slash, yeah, he had his Gibson Les Paul. Well, Slash's like famous Gibson Les Paul was a copy. There's Brian May's guitar was like a copy. I think even, if I'm not mistaken, Tony Iommi's SG, I think was a copy. There's a lot of famous players, and if you know any good examples, list it in the comment section. But just because something's a copy or something was made in Japan doesn't mean it's not good. And surely you can put your favorite hardware, your favorite, tuners, bridge, pickups, whatever. At the end of the day, guys, it's wood and magnets. Wood and magnets. So you can take this, trick it out, spec it out, tune it up, and make it something very unique and distinct. And still have something special with, half a century of history behind it. I think that's pretty cool. All right, so there's your two different 70s Japanese Les Paul variants built in the Fujigen factory. This is also, I believe, where the Ibanez guitar Les Pauls were built. There's lots of different brands you'll see from all the different music shops and distributors and people that came up with their own names for them that wanted to have their own line. But you can see there's lots of similarities between the variants with the saddles, the stop tailpiece shape, the tuners, all that good stuff. So with that being said, I'm going to get going. I've done a lot of videos today. I'm going to take a break. I think I've got nice ice cold beer waiting for me. And we just had a huge fireworks display go off in South End. We have a famous fireworks festival that's actually running, supposed to go a couple weeks ago. And so now in the ventilation, it all smells like gunpowder coming through here in the studio. So I think that's my cue to get out of here. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I'm going to put both these up for sale on the website and on reverb.com. So if you think, hey, man, these are really cool 70s vintage Japanese Les Pauls that you'd love to have. Maybe you want to use it just as decoration in your bar, in your man cave, or maybe you've got one guitar that's really precious to you that you don't want to modify, and these would be good little guinea pigs for you to test out different pickups and controls, or maybe you want one that you want to do a paint job on, and you want, again, this will be a good starter for you. Whatever you want to do, they're cool, they're available, we're selling them to help raise some funds for the studio, and yeah, we just appreciate you hanging out and checking out these cool guitars with me, man. All right, I gotta run. Follow us on all the socials at Essex Recording Studios. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. And I'll catch you all later. More guitar videos coming up right after this.